recovery. The latest figures on factory output showing that it fell for the third consecutive month in January. Sales tax increases have always proved to be very controversial in Japan. This is the first one in 17 years. Will it be make or break, though, for the Abenomics policies? Well, Jennifer Lott has been finding out.
Spending up big before the new sales tax kicks in.
It doesn't make sense to wait, knowing things are just going to get more expensive.
On April 1st, Japan will see its value-added tax rise for the first time since the late 1990s. It'll go from its current 5% to 8%, then potentially rise again to 10% by October 2015. Prime Minister Shinzo Abe is touting the move as a turning point for Japan's troubled economy. Since the country's financial and property bubbles burst, government spending has leapt while tax revenues have stagnated. Topping 1 quadrillion yen, Tokyo now has the highest national debt in the rich world, twice the size of its entire economy. Abe says the hike is necessary in tackling this spiralling debt, and it's the next phase of Abenomics, designed to introduce structural reforms for long-term growth. But economists fear the increase will throttle domestic consumption, which accounts for 60% of GDP, killing off recovery completely.
After the tax hike, demand will drop suddenly. A common practice among companies in this kind of situation is to put new products on the market to minimize the effects of the sales drop.
Yurutaro Hashimoto was the last Japanese leader who dared to raise the consumption tax. The economy tanked and he was forced out of office by an angry electorate. Hoping history won't repeat itself, the government plans to placate those struggling in the wake of the increase by offering one-off cash payments to low-income households and home buyers.
Well, let's have a look if those fears are affecting the Asian markets in trading this Monday. Actually quite a positive start to week across the board. You can see the Nikkei is up by about 0.6%, so no great fear. The weaker yen helping companies there. Just the shares in Shanghai dipping into the red. This after the Chinese premier on Friday did his best to try and soothe investor concern by suggesting the government was ready to step in with more stimulus if the country's growth rate continues to cool down. A story, of course, we'll be watching closely for you in the weeks to come.
OK, well, let's look at Greece now. The country's gone through a lot of reforms. It's taken on a lot of bailout money and more reforms and more bailout money to come this week.
Yeah, that's right. A parliamentary vote, in fact, the early hours of this Monday morning, in fact, passed the latest round of reforms needed for the next instalment of Greece's bailout loan. The debate went on for some 14 hours with heated exchanges, including members of the opposition Syriza party accusing the government of selling the country piece by piece. Now, the reforms they voted will allow for easier privatisation of state assets, including 2 main ports and the country's railway operator. It will also pave the way for the 4th largest bank in Greece to be privatised. Now, in exchange, Greece will get 8.3 billion euros worth of bailout loans. It's gotten around 90% of its 230-odd billion euro bailout so far. The country's finance minister says things there are improving.
We managed to stay on our feet. Of course, mistakes and injustices were made, but we are trying to rectify these now. Because now, with greater security and stability, we all owe it to ourselves as citizens to work together for shared principles and values, to have fertile and constructive discussions, to plan for a better future, so that in 10 years from now, we will be one of the most culturally, politically, and economically developed countries.
Let's move on now with a look at some of the day's other business stories. And Libya's sovereign wealth fund is taking the French bank Société Générale to court over claims it helped to funnel bribes paid to Colonel Gaddafi's son. The bank denies the allegations, which are contained in court documents seen by the Financial Times newspaper. The Libyan Investment Authority wants a $58 million payment made by SocGen on its behalf to be declared void. The lawsuit is the latest to be taken by the fund over losses incurred by deals carried out during the Gaddafi era. And the e-commerce giant Alibaba has bought a stake in a firm that operates shopping centres in China. It paid almost $220 million for a 10% stake in Antim. The deal will give Alibaba access to the products sold in their stores as the two firms develop a strategic online-offline partnership. And technology titans Apple and Samsung will be back in court this week for the latest round of their ongoing patent battle. Apple seeking $2 billion from its South Korean rival for allegedly ripping off its designs and features. The iPhone maker wants to be paid $40 per phone, which it claims uses its software. Samsung's expected to call in engineers from Google to testify to explain how they built the Android operating system independent of Apple.
Ooh, feisty rivals, aren't they, Apple and Samsung? Thanks very much, Stephen Carroll, for bringing us that and the rest of the business news. He'll be back in around an hour's time with more. Now, though, we're going to take a look at web news, starting off with a look at the volunteers who've been monitoring Turkey's local elections.
Sunday saw crucial local elections for Turkey, and the government of Prime Minister Recep Tayyip Erdogan